Okay guys, we're back for another round on the project boat, and today we are going to start patching some Gelcoat. So what I mean by patching is we've got a lot of deep chips similar to this going on, which are down to raw fiberglass. And fiberglass, if it hasn't got a coating of something, whether that be Flowcoat, Gelcoat, any sort of sealant, can become porous if it is left to the elements, water, for long periods of time, and that's when you start getting delamination happening. So we've got a lot of holes in the floor from where people have screwed stuff in over the years. The ones in the console we did last time, and the console's in good nick, so I think everything above the waterline is still spot on. Everything below the waterline, there are no holes, thank God, but we have pulled the transducers off, so we have got some patches to do here. So that's majority just Gelcoat that's come off with the Sikaflex because it was stuck on so well, which is a good sign, not a bad sign. If the Gelcoat comes off with the Sika, that means it had a good seal around the screw, and we had absolutely no water ingress in there anyway. So it's all looking tip-top, which is good. I always get a bit sketchy when I start pulling screws out of transoms, but for this boat, we are hunky-dory. Everything's dry as, which is really good. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to chuck the head cam on this time, and we're going to start mixing up some Flowcoat. So Flowcoat is basically Gelcoat with wax in it. I'm not sure if I explained this last video, but you need that wax component to let it set, because Gelcoat doesn't cure fully in open air environment. It has to be completely sealed. So the wax puts a seal on it, makes it set, and we're going to use a thickening agent. So you can use Cavasil, talc. I've heard of like flour and stuff like that getting used, but in our case we're using a bit of talc, thicken it up so it doesn't just droop out of the holes, and we're going to go around, use a little spatula and a little brush, dab it on. Once it's dry, wet sand, cut and polish, you know the drill, and get it back to looking nice. So we're going to seal up. We've probably got like 30 or 40 patches to do across the whole boat, quite a few. So we're going to mix some up, get around, and see how many we can get sealed up before our Flowcoat starts going off. So I've got to mix a fairly hot mix, which means it's going to have a bit more catalyst in it to make sure that it goes off a little bit quicker, and that'll stop it falling out of the holes, as well as being pretty thick with the talc thickener. So combination of two. You've got to be a little bit careful though. You put too much catalyst in it and it's not going to cure properly, and it's not going to cure strong. So you want the strength, and you want it going off quick, or quick enough so it doesn't fall out of the holes. So we'll get to mixing. First things first, always wear protection when doing this sort of stuff. Wear gloves, safety glasses, because these are pretty harsh chemicals. Respirator. We've got disposable respirators, I've got gloves, and we have glasses for mixing up, because the catalyst in this case is very bad, and if you get one drop of that stuff splash up in your eye, I think it's almost a guaranteed trip to hospital, and you're going to be blind. So don't muck around with it. I'm just going to quickly run around with some acetone and clean up all the areas first, and that way they're Mickey Mouse. We've already ground all the Gelcoat out with a bit to make sure you got a nice transition so that it sticks really nice. If you've got sharp jagged edges, 9 times out of 10 it'll crack at that point with any stress, but if you fair it out nice around the edges, it lets the Gelcoat fold into the old existing Gelcoat, and you'll get a nice strong bond. So we'll go around, clean everything up first, and we'll get on to mixing up some Flowcoat. So we've gone over everything with some acetone. And now we're going to mix up some flow coat. So what we're going to do first is put some flow coat in a cup, add our talc, thicken it up before we even consider catalyst. Then we'll see how much we've got with our thickener in, and then depending how much we got is how much catalyst we've got to put in. So we'll mix up a nice thick mix first, and then we'll see how much we end up with. We'll go from there. Got our flow coat. We'll give this a bit of a stir because it's a little bit separated in there. Okay. I'm going to go with about 50 odd mil to start with, maybe about 30-40 mil of actual flow coat, because once this stuff starts setting, it sets pretty quick. And we're going to need it takes a fair bit of thickener to get this stuff like substantially thick enough to use as like a paste. So by the time you add heaps of thickener, we'll definitely have our 50 odd mil. So clean this up quickly, and yeah, we'll start adding our thickening agent. Okay, so there we have. So I had about 30 odd mil of flow coat, and I've brought it up to about 50-55 mil with the talc in there. So I'm just going to use this little stirrer to slowly massage it in. Be very gentle, because obviously everything will come flying out in a great hurry if you're too savage with everything. And it'll look really thick at first, but the more you stir it and the more you get your catalyst, the more you get your thickening agent to work in with the flow coat, the smoother it becomes, and then it turns out to be not as thick as you first thought it'll be. So you want to spend a fair bit of time mixing this, because you don't want any granules whatsoever or clumps in it, because that will create a weak point in your patch, and it'll be the equivalent basically of an air pocket. So it'll bust out, and then once it busts out, the rest of it will crack away, and then you'll be back to square one, and it would have been like you never even did all this effort. So it pays to be very thorough and just make sure everything is worked in really, really well. So we'll keep stirring for a little while. I'll add a little bit more, I think. That's still fairly runny, so we want a little bit thicker than that. Okay guys, there we have it. So that's our final mix. So if you look at that, it's creating a peak, but it's not really sagging at all. So it's runny enough to get in the holes, and it's just got the tiniest little bit of droop about it. So I think it'll be pretty good. If I get it too much thicker than that, I think it'll go off really quick, and it won't give me much time to work with what we got. So it feels pretty good, and we've got about 50 mil there all up by the time I mixed it in. So I'm going to grab our catalyst, and this stuff has got all your directions of use on it. So between this and whatever flow coat or gel coat you get, it'll have everything. So add 1.5 to 2% MEKP catalyst. So we're looking at 1.5 to 2.5%. So it gives you hot days, cold days. It's pretty muggy out here today, so we'll go with 1.5. It says 60 drops per 100 mil. We got 50 mil, so we'll go 30 drops, and then happy days. On colder days, you can use up to 2%, which is 80 drops, so basically an extra 10 drops. So yeah, we'll put our safety glasses on and add our catalyst, mix it in really thoroughly, and then get to fill in our holes. Okay guys, so we've got our catalyst in here. We're mixing it super well, making sure we scrape all the sides, and there's not one bit of flow coat in this little mixer that hasn't been touched by catalyst. Otherwise obviously it won't go off, and then again creates a weak spot. So stir this for the best part of a minute. We've been going for a fair while now. and we'll get stuck in the bogging. We've created a bit of a hot mix here, I guess you'd call. We've gone a few extra drops, nothing too crazy, but definitely a few extra to make it go off a little bit quicker. So that's our spatula there. They're just disposable wood ones. So quick tip, go to your local craft shop and you can get these spatulas and a whole heap of like little art brushes, which are really, really good, and really good for dabbing and creating patchwork, because brushes are quite expensive, but if you go to your local junk shop you can find these quite cheap. So what we're going to do is basically create a patch daub like so. I'm going to make it a little bit high, and that'll give me room to sand and give it room to shrink, because it does shrink a little bit, nothing too crazy, but it will shrink. And yeah, voila. So what we're going to do now is use our little art brush, go around, patch all our little holes and scuffs. I don't care if I go really high, I'll just knock that off with some sufficient sandpaper. And yeah, we'll get into it. These holes down here were from an old, I think it was, what do you call them? The keel guards, the big rubber ones. I think old mate mustn't have installed it too well, because he's obviously had to come along with a couple of screws to help keep it on at the front. So patch those off, make sure we push it right in those holes. That's where the spatula can come in handy. Just smooth it over and it pushes it right in. And once it's pushed in, we build it up again with our brush. Make sure we haven't got any indentations. Okay. Whoop. I've got some good chips here that are quite significant, which is why I wanted to do a thicker mix. So I'm just going to build that right up, and then I'll shape that with some wet and dry later on. But all I'm really wanting to do is make sure that every bit of exposed raw fiberglass has got something on it. And after that, we should be good. Go around all the ones on the outside first. Dab it right in there so you got no air pockets. It's a bit finicky at first, but you get the knack of it after a while, and once you're a little bit more confident you can add a little bit more catalyst like we have, because you know you'll be able to run around and get the job done before the flow coat goes off. Okay, that's all the ones on the outside of the boat done. And inside there's a couple of here like that one that I'm actually going to put fiberglass reinforced filler in first, and then the rest we're just going to flow coat. Okay, so all our gel coat patches are on. I'm just going to quickly run around and take off the tape. So what this does is this just means, oh, I might have to take that glove off actually. This just means all the excess flow coat that's actually on the tape won't cure and then cause me a heap of grief when it comes to pulling the tape off later and sanding. So basically I'm only getting left with the little patch area that I initially taped off, and any excess gets removed just like that. So that only leaves me that little area to sand down from high to low, and then wet and sand and polish up. So I'm going to get that done across the whole boat, and then bigger holes like this I'm going to patch from underneath with some fiberglass reinforcement. That's the old electric motor mount. And then yeah, do the same, flow coat top, sand, and then sealed. Beautiful. Okay, we'll get to pulling all these off. So now we're on to the bogging side of things. So the bigger holes with the fiberglass reinforced bog. So basically it's not bog as such, it's just resin with a bit of shot mat fiberglass in it to give it a bit of strength, and then obviously a catalyst to make it go off. So you can see all the strands of chopped fiberglass in there. That just gives it some rigidity, I guess. So I like to use this on the larger holes anyway. Give me a little bit of strength. So I've got to work pretty quick here because, again, a bit of a hot mix, so it goes off a bit quicker. This will be my last bit for tonight. So I've gone over all these holes again with some second run of masking tape. You really want to work this into the holes here. Get as much as you can in there. So this isn't the final product, but it is the product that will be filling the majority of these bigger holes. So you want to make sure you get a lot of product in there, and that will, in the end, make sure that it adheres to whatever structure it's bonding to. Hey Bill. Hello. Hey Bill.
Can you see the orange colour?
High five. Okay guys, so it is the day after we finished our little gel coat patches, and what I'm up to today, in between playing with Belle outside, I'm just running in and out little bits at a time, and we're double taping around our patches. So we pulled all our tape off our patches originally, so that the excess flow coat wasn't on the boat, and now we're going around taping again, but we're putting 2 layers of tape on. And what we're doing that for is so when we sand down with our block, we don't hit any more surface area than we have to, so that eliminates sanding an area as big as the block or bigger and having to sand it all down, buff it all back and get it all blending really nice. We're only working with very, very small areas of patch, and then we just got to blend those. So for the next couple of hours, in and out playing with Belle, and when she's a bit bored of me, I'll come in, tape off some bits and pieces, and then head back out. So it's a long, slow process, but you do what you do when you've got a family, and family first, boat second. So out play with Belle for a bit, and we'll keep taping this, and then by the Sarve, when Belle goes down for a nap, I dare say we'll be doing a sanding session, getting all sanded back, and yeah, ready for a cut and polish, and that will be another job off the list. Okay guys, we're all taped up, and yeah, so this is what we're dealing with. Everything's been double taped. Here are our flow coat patches, and what we're doing is we're just taking the tops off and slowly getting them down. So I've got some fairly coarse, bloody mozzies in here. Get some fairly coarse sandpaper just to get these really big dags off before I even go anywhere near the existing gel coat. and then we'll start hitting it with wet and dry. And we've done that all around the boat. You can see I've knocked the tops off a lot of them. So they're all coarsely knocked down, and also hit the fiberglass patches, so you can see that's what they were, and see how hard they've gone. That is rock solid. I've actually had to hit that with a drill bit to get it down a little bit, and from then we'll sand it out nice and smooth, flare it all out, then build it back up with flow coat, sand it off again. So that was our fiberglass reinforced resin fill, and those have been ground out a little bit and ready to be hit with some sandpaper. So that is the stage we're up to now. So I'm going to get to sanding. A lot to do, lots and lots of little patches. So yeah, we'll get stuck into it. Now we've got all of our patches knocked down, it's time to get on to the wet and dry. So we've got 4 grades of wet and dry sandpaper, 4, 6, 8 and 12. The higher the number, the finer the sandpaper. So we're just going to wet this down in some soapy water. A tiny little bit of dishwashing liquid in the water goes a long way. It helps the sandpaper glide over a surface and doesn't chew out the grit so bad. So we're going to wet it down, hit each patch with each grade, and by the end of it we should have a really nice smooth finish, and then we can remove our tape, do one more final blend with the finest sandpaper we got, and then we're ready for a cut and polish. So we'll get to sanding. So lots of patches, one at a time, one grade at a time, and a slow old process. Go over each one and just keep going. So we'll tackle that now. Okay guys, I've been sanding for a while now. Little Belle's gone down for a nap, and this is our end result. So super smooth, it's come out quite nice. Now I've got the tiniest of pinholes in that one, which I'm going to go over again with just a very, very fine top coat. I don't have to thicken it at all, it'll just be a quick wipe. But apart from that, that hole has filled and sanded up absolutely beautifully. So yeah, I'm very happy with that. I've got both sides done. I think this is where a previous bimini top was. So there's a tiny little crack in the Gelcoat there, but I'm not too worried about that. It hasn't spread. It's from the initial screw, I think, just parting it. But yeah, super happy with the end result. But that's those two done. I've just got to hit these with a little bit of finer sandpaper. We're down to the second one on that. There's another little pinhole there I'm going to fill. Apart from that, they're all sealed up. Same on this side, you can barely see that one. Tiny little pinhole up there. So usually you won't get that on the first go, but that is the very first pass with the flow coat. So I've got nearly 100% coverage on the very first pass, which is awesome. That means I've only got to go through with a very fine, probably a scraper, and just a normal flow coat. They're no thickening agent whatsoever. Fill those pinholes and hit it with the finest grade sandpaper again, and then a cut and polish, and we're done. So that's the majority of the inside of the boat done. I've still got a heap of little holes to fill where the old console was here. I'm saying that might be where old battery boxes or something were. We filled the bigger ones with some reinforced putty there, and then we've also got a die grind out, reinforced putty, and flow coat that. So flow coat, also get stuck into these, sand them back a bit more, get them down so we can flow coat them, And then that will be the inside of the boat completely sealed and watertight. No more holes anywhere, nowhere for water just to leak down into voids where it shouldn't be leaking into. And yeah, then on to the outside. So there's patches up the bow there, a few on the side, a few on the transom, and obviously the ones where the towaway is. So I'll get to sanding these two with wet and dry. We'll jump outside the boat and yeah, get on to the rest of the flow coat sanding. Just on the bow, and no word of a lie, it is absolute night and day compared to what it was. Look at that. It's come up an absolute treat. So you can probably see there's the two patches there, and then we've taken the side of that. That's actually the drain hole for the anchor well. So yeah, the side was all chipped out, so we reshaped all that by hand and patched all our holes up. So that looks amazing. So happy with it, and now I know 100% that everything below the waterline is going to be sealed properly from the elements, and there's no way that is chipping out or cracking or anything. That is 100% sealed up. Only way that's breaking is if I hit something. So yeah, super happy with the progress, and considering I haven't done flow coat or gel coat before, it's a bit of a learning curve, but I'm just giving you the hot tip along the way of how I'm approaching it, and it seems to be working out really well. Here's the one on the gunnel. Where is it? I can't even see it myself. So that's it there. I don't know, I'll see if I can find a little bit of footage of what it was like before, but I think this was that real big, nasty, ugly looking chip. And that's come up absolutely beautiful. So yeah, just all the exposed bits of fiberglass we're just touching up before we go and hit the water, because once it starts getting wet, that's the end of it. So yeah, so happy. So that is the whole top deck done, the whole bow done. Now we're on to the transom. So what we've done is we've ripped off all the old transducers. They were on these big sliding brackets and everything, and because I'm putting trim tabs on, the transducers were all going to be in the way, wasn't going to work. So what we've got here is we've got the old holes there from the transducer. I've got a few here. I've just thrown some flow coat over that because the sticker ripped the gel coat clean off, so I just sealed that up a little bit. On this side we've got a whole heap of holes here, quite large ones. So what we're going to do is quickly clean them up, and then I got some syringes, and we're going to mix up a 2-part epoxy, and we're going to inject the holes with epoxy, tape them off, let that cure, and then drill it out with a countersink bit, flow coat over that, and then again sand, cut, polish, and then you won't even know the holes were there. They'll be impregnated with resin or epoxy, and they'll be finished with flow coat. So absolutely no chance of that ever having water go in it either. The transom on this thing is solid as a rock, and those screws didn't go all the way through anything. They just went into, it's like a chemical bond they use between the two skins, and it's just rock hard, solid, filled transom on this thing, in between all the composite layers. So I know that the screws haven't gone through into anything else. They've only gone through into that composite and then into the layer of bonding. So I know it's not going to penetrate further into the hole, but regardless, we're going to do it properly, and then we'll mark out our trim tabs, go down that path. So yeah, going to mix up some epoxy, clean these holes up, inject it in, and then yeah, let that cure, and we'll come back, a bit more gel coating, a bit more sanding, and then she'll be all ready for detailing down the track. Then we'll get back inside, bog those little holes in the floor where the console is while we've got the flow coat out for the transom, because that'll be pretty thick. And yeah, then it's just patch any pinholes that I'm not happy with cosmetically, and then yeah, we're done. Done the flow coat, done the bogging, done all the holes then. So after that, it's onto the 12 volt, which I'm super excited about. I'm going to draw a big diagram on the big bit of ply we got at the back so we know exactly what we got where. We're going to do ampage, wire, sizes, fuses, everything. Map it all out so you guys can follow along, and then we'll get stuck into it. But for now, let's get some resin in these holes, and it's going to be a pretty quick setting resin, so I probably won't put the camera on, but I'll show you once she's done. And yeah, let that cure on the next stage. Okay, so I just thought I'd show you what we've done just before we go and fill it full of epoxy. We've just used the countersink bit to take out the edge of the flow coat or gel coat, and then we've reamed it with a drill bit and cleaned them all up. So we used the wet vac to suck everything out of the holes. And the reason why you ream it as well is just to take a layer of any, I suppose, rotten or waterlogged composite that the screw and any other sealant, because obviously there was like Sikaflex on the back of the screws that went in the hole transducers. So the next size up drill bit, bigger than the hole, will take a whole layer out, make sure there's no leftover crap in there, and make sure that the epoxy sticks really well to a fresh material. So I've done that on both sides, cleaned them both up, and yeah, ready to go. So I'm going to mix up the epoxy, inject it in, tape them off, and then yeah, come back when she's dry, grind it out, and get ready for some more flow coating. Okay, I wasn't going to film this, but I thought, oh, I've got a head cam strap here, so I might as well strap you on, take you along for the ride. So what we're doing is we're just getting prepped, because like I said, this epoxy goes off pretty quick and I've got a fair few holes to fill. So I've got my tape set up ready to cover our holes, 4 on each side, 4 holes on each side, mixing cup, syringe, which I got from the local chemist, and due to me having a fair few tattoos, I got some interesting looks when I went and asked for a heap of syringes. They didn't ask me why, but they were definitely staring me down when I asked for them. And then yeah, we just got some 2-part epoxy. So mix it in the cup, suck it up with the syringe, gloves on for safety because this stuff goes everywhere. Got the acetone and a rag here ready just in case, and yeah, tape ready to patch the holes once we've injected it. So I'll just get myself some sort of mixing apparatus and we'll get into it. Okay, we are good to go. So here goes nothing. Oh god, only 1/2 is coming out. Okay. Only 1 of the 2 mixing components is coming out, so we're off to a cracking start. I have to find something to stab that with, get the epoxy side of it out. Okay, back in business. Cracked her open. We're good. I'm gonna pump all of this in there. Rather have too much than not enough, and a third of a tube of this stuff hanging around the shed's not going to do me any good, so might as well use it all. Okie dokie. That's that done. Give her a good mix up. Okie dokie. I think that's us. I hope this works how I envision. It is pretty thick. Should. Oh, beautiful. Okay. doesn't suck a whole syringe worth, but it sucks enough to get the hole started. So actually gonna clean it up. So yeah, it's about 3 mil there. You can see it coming out of the hole. It's exactly what we want. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I'll just wipe the excess off. Got a good couple of mil in there. See it spewing out of that hole. Mate, love it when a plan comes together. Love it, love it, love it. Nice. Okay. Well, I've got this rag. Oh, it's already dirty. Just going to clean up that first one. And hit that again, because it is a bit bigger hole than the others. Oh, yep. Beautiful. Okey-dokey. To be honest, I don't think I'm going to need the tape. I thought I'd need the tape to stop this stuff running out, but I think we're good. I think we are good. It's thick enough to not have to worry about the tape. So, it's fine by me. Now these holes are a lot bigger. So make sure I get a good syringe full in these things. Oh, you can hear that air really pushing out, which means the screw hole hasn't gone all the way through the composite, and there's something behind there, and this resin is actually hitting on and pushing out, because if it was just a big whopping hole into the abyss, this would just be pouring in and filling up the cavity and not wanting to push out. So, that is awesome. I'm so happy with that. I'm just going to wipe off the excess here. And yeah, I think we're good. No, beautiful. Like I said, gloves are a necessity. You can see that all over me there. But yeah, beautiful. So that's the epoxy done. The holes are full. Okay guys, it's been a hot minute. As you can see from outside, it is pitch black. So yeah, she's well into the evening now. Belle's just going down for a sleep. And I've snuck back into the shed for a couple of hours tonight before I hit the sack. I've got work tomorrow morning. And we're going to get as much done as we can tonight before we pull the pin. So we've had all of our flow coat patches over our fiberglass reinforced bog is all set. We did a pretty hot mix there, so it'd cure in a few hours, ready to sand. We've got the one at the back, she's all done. Patched all the holes in the floor, and also just brushed a bit of gel coat over all the penetrations where the bolts go through to hold the console down. Just because that was just all raw composite. It wasn't in bad shape by any means, but while I was here, it never hurts to just throw a bit extra in, so that's that done. And then the transom where we injected resin into those holes is all set and cured. So what we're doing tonight is just sanding. So going to hit all this with wet and dry, the 4 different types that we went over before, and get it all down to a nice finish. That's on a moulded non-skid finish, so I'm just going to bring it down to level with that, and then that'll do, and that means it's fully fully sealed from any sort of weather or water. And then yeah, do that on all the surfaces, mix up some more flow coat, patch the transom, and then by tomorrow that'll be dry, sand that back, and yeah, that should be done. And then on to the next phase. We do have some fiberglassing to do too. Minor, but still needs to be done. In the anchor well here, I've got some tape. We've got a small hole underneath the tape there in the anchor well, where the back of the anchor's kind of punched a little bit of a hole through. I've shoved the wet vac down there, and there's no water down there whatsoever. So yeah, it doesn't look like old damage, but nonetheless you've got a wet rope and an anchor sitting in there, plus it's got an open little access port where water can get in. Last thing I want is water going down into the hole. So I've had the boat sitting the opposite way on the trailer, chocky wheel all the way down, let it sit for a day, threw the wet vac down, didn't pull an ounce of water out, so that's good news again. But while we know it's going to be an issue, patch it up. So I've got a fiberglass repair kit there. We're going to hit that with some fiberglass, flow coat it, happy days. And then that should be us done inside the boat. Then we can focus on the outside for the remainder, and then 12 volt. So big night of sanding ahead, and I'll check in again when everything's done, dusted and finished, I guess, because I'm going to put my head down, bum up for a few hours, see if I can punch this out tonight. Fingers crossed. Guys, welcome back, and you guessed it, it's night time again, and I'm running on fumes tonight. Had a big day, late night last night, and then worked today, and then we've just pulled stumps and back at it again tonight. So the plan tonight is fuel. So I've started a bit of a list actually. I'll take you over to my little board I've got at the back here. So that's basically everything we need to buy, everything we got to do inside the boat, everything we got to do outside the boat, things we got to test, and then potential upgrades, but they're near here or there. So we're slowly ticking the list off. Today also, I don't know, I might have recorded it, I might have not. We removed the rear step, and we're getting ready to put some trim tabs on. So that will be one of the next steps coming up. But yeah, like I said, tonight we're on the fuel train, and there's a couple of reasons why we're on the fuel train. So we've had my mate Benny come over, and we've put the 130 Yummy on the back, which only just has 300 hours on it. We did a service on it today. While we were there, we found out that the seals in the hydraulic steering ram, or one of them, was just starting to weep. So we did the seals in the ram as well while we were going, and I cut the fuel line to the main tank that goes from the tank to the motor, because I'm going to replace that, being it's quite old, and ethanol is a big thing when it comes to anything fuel these days. Any older hoses will actually eat the inside of the hose out. So I'd rather replace a couple of hundred, I'd rather replace a couple of $100 worth of hoses and not have little bits of rubber and gunk going through my $20,000 motor, rather than vice versa. Be a tight ass, don't buy new hoses and then have problems with your motor down the track. Anyway, while we were doing all that, I had a look at the fuel filter, and it is absolutely rank. Check out the colour of this. That is putrid. So that brown stuff is actually the fuel. So from that, I was also trying to hook up the fuel sender to the Yamaha gauges, and noticed that the fuel gauge on the Yamaha wasn't reading. So we cut the wires to the fuel sender unit here, which is on top of the tank, and did an ohm test on that, and turns out the fuel sensor's buggered. So another thing added to the list. So I've ordered a new fuel sensor. That thing was quite hard to find. Yeah, so I think they're from the UK. So I got one of them on the way. And then I thought, while I'm at it, I might as well, I'm replacing the fuel lines, I'm replacing the fuel sender, we're replacing the fuel filter, obviously, because I'm not going to run that fuel through my motor after we've just serviced it all. So all I've got left to replace now is the fuel pickup. Now it's in pretty good nick, but it is pretty old, like 10 years old. So what we're going to do tonight is pull the pickup out. I've got a new one here, I ordered online, and that means we would have replaced everything when it comes to fuel going from the boat to the motor. Everything will be brand new, eliminate any potential problems whatsoever, all gone, all brand new. So yeah, that's what we're on to tonight. But we did find, when I pulled this this sender unit here out, I'll get my little trusty torch, that we have a lot of fuel to get rid of. So the tank in this thing is actually 180 litres, I think, or thereabouts, 176 or something, which is a lot of fuel. And you might be able to see it shining down there, but that is pretty full. I'd say 2/3 at least. So what do we got? Probably, I don't know, a good 120 odd litres of fuel to get rid of. So we've got a 12 volt transfer pump here. It's a little 12 volt transfer pump. So that's our suction hose there. Goes down into the tank. Grab one of our Jerry's. And yeah, fill her on up. So obviously make sure you do this in a well ventilated area. My shed's over 5 metres high, plenty of ventilation, doors wide open, and everything in the boat has been disconnected. There's not a single live wire or anything connected to any batteries whatsoever. The only connection will be this fuel pump here. So yeah, we'll get to pumping, and it's a bit noisy, and it's going to be a slow process because these things don't pump much, but we'll see how we go. Okay, so we capped out at 2468, nearly 100 litres. That one's a little bit shy of full. Not by much though. Only a couple of litres if that. And then the pump stopped pumping, so pull our little hose out of here. Pull our light in. We've still got fuel down there. See a little bit of fuel down there, but realistically that there's not much, and I can see right on the bottom of the tank too, and there's a little crap down there, which is a good sign. So it's always good. So I'm going to poke the torch in, have a bit of a better look around, and yeah, we'll alternate that hose a bit, see if we can suck that last bit of fuel out, and then that's 100 litres removed from the boat, which is good. And yeah, get on to removing these fuel lines. Going to do it tonight. She's getting late. We've got 100 litres of fuel out of the tank. Tank's pretty much bone dry. We've got all our fuel lines disconnected from both the engine, the tank, and the fuel filter. I've taken a small cut of each fuel line, so I think one's a 1/4 inch and the other's just your standard fuel filler hose. We're going to grab a couple of metres of each, and replace them. New clamps, new bulb, and we should be back in action. The fuel sender replacement unit should be here early next week. Whack that in, hook that up to the NMEA and the Yummy gauges. I'm going to run it on both because I always like to have a visual of my tank level, and then the NMEA will also tell me real-time fuel flow and stuff like that as well. But it just gives me a good visual aspect. If I jump in the boat, I haven't been in for a little while, turn the ignition on, bam, half a tank. At least I know. Whereas technically I could run without a fuel sender and just run real-time fuel flow, but I would have to empty the tank dry, fill it up, go off the literage, and every single trip enter or take off how many litres I've used. And yeah, too much hassle, because if you forget it once, you shoot yourself in the foot, and then yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's us done for tonight. So I'm going to pack up here, have a shower, smell like petrol, have some sleep because I need some, and yeah, we'll be back when we have some parts. We'll get back in this fuel system. Good night.